So if you guys remember, to make this car run, I rigged up this terribly unsafe fuel system. So our gas tank's here. We've got an electric fuel pump down here just hanging out in the wind, going to our fuel filter. So to save us from that, we got a nice 3/8 pre-bent line sitting in there. Unbox that later when it's time to go in. But the fun stuff's back here. We've got our brand new gas tank. This is a stock replacement tank. And originally the car came with 5/16 line. So I wanted to show you the difference between a 3/8 sending unit and a 5/8. So if you notice, the biggest difference is right up here at the very top. This one on the right is your 5/16. Look at the difference in diameter between this one and our 3/8. So our 3/8 is going to be delivering a lot more fuel. And the factory sending units actually came with a return line if it had a 3/8 fuel system. Down here, we've also got the sock for the filter is actually a lot bigger, so the pickup's going to be picking up more fuel. So that's going to be good. And the reason I like the sending unit with this return line built into it is because I'll be able to use this with the fuel injection system when we go to that eventually. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we'll be able to run our return line very simply without having any kind of issues, without having to modify the tank. All it's got to do, go directly into that return. So on top of that, we've got our gasket, our lock ring, and here's our new filler neck, because mine had some rust on the inside, had some scaling. I just went ahead and bought a new one. And then there's our grommet for the gas tank itself. Picked up some 3/8 fuel line just in case I needed to make any more myself. It was cheap enough, so I figured it'd be nice to have some on standby. I'll probably have to use this for making it from the fuel pump going up into the carburetor. So that'll be nice to have, make it look clean and nice. But I just wanted to show you guys what's all going to be going into this. I've already welded in the tank strap supports. I've got tank straps and bolts ready for the car. They're in a box somewhere, no telling where they are. But I've got them ready to go, so whenever we finish up with the trunk, we got just a little bit more to go. When that's done, we'll be able to hang the tank, put our sending unit in, filler neck, run our fuel line, and then run our hard line up to the carburetor. Fuel system should be done. It'll be all self-sufficient. I learned 2 lessons when pertaining to these gas tank straps. 1, you're going to get what you pay for. 2, don't throw away your old stuff before you make sure your new stuff works. So these are not the first set of gas tank straps that I actually bought. These are actually from AMD. The first set I got, I don't remember the brand, but they said they would fit a 69 Charger. They were cheaper, but it turns out they were actually too short. And this bend up here would not reach the bolt. It was probably 2 inches short, so it was cut off right about here maybe, in this area, 2 to 3 inches short. So I ended up having to buy new ones because I only was able to find one of the old gas tank straps. I don't know what happened to the old one, but probably I just threw it away because I was like, well, I'm never going to use it again, so it doesn't matter. It does matter. I could have reused them, saved some money, but since I couldn't find it, I had to go ahead and buy 2 new ones, which they weren't terribly expensive. These are AMD, so I know they're good quality. They're galvanized, so they won't rust like the original ones will. So it's alright. We're going to go ahead and throw this in the car, and we should have a good hanging gas tank at this point, I hope. So the trunk pan's going to look a little different since the last time you guys saw it. What I did was take some truck bed coating. This is a Krylon brand. I've got a can right here. I want you guys to see what it looks like. Truck bed coating. Focus. Get out of the light there. But you can see this stuff is really good. It coats nice. I like the way that it laid down around the paint, but you can see pretty much how it's going to look. And it's got some texture to it, so maybe it'll be scratch resistant for the most part. But you can also see we've got our new filler neck in here with our vent tube going into a grommet that I bought. There's our new seal. Then I've got the rubber O-ring that goes in to our nice new gas tank. So that's nice to have. I'm so glad that that's done. And now what I'm going to do is start working on our fuel line. Here's a little comparison between the old fuel line. You can see it's nice, rusty and scaly up, all dirty, everything like that. And here's our new fuel line. This is stainless steel, unlike the factory steel one. This is 5/16. This is 3/8. A lot more fuel getting in this thing. So you guys remember that this car came with some kind of weird bucket seat. I actually found out from Mike from Classic Mustangs 429 that they came out of a Mercury Cougar. So you'll see here we've got some nice seat brackets. Me and Dad actually made these. Well, we didn't make the parts like right here. I welded this square tubing in and drilled some holes, cut it to fit. And what I'll do, I'll bolt some new seats that I have, and then this will bolt to the floor. But I'll show you these seats here in just a second after I bolt these in.
So the shop got cleaned up, and you'll see we put the hood back on the Charger. So what I've done is I've actually installed my new Brom seats. I think the last clip I talked about was installing the seat brackets. So let you guys take a look at this. I really like these seats. They're super comfortable. What I'd like to do, just for before power tour, I'll probably put some kind of carpet in it. And the main reason for that is just so my feet do not bake on the bare metal of the floor panel. But then we'll replace the windshield. You can see it's busted right there. I've got a new windshield for it and a new gasket. While we're at it, we might fix up the dash, make it look a little bit nicer. And you can see I've got a gauge panel there. The next step, after we get exhaust, which will be this coming up week, I'm going to rip out all this wiring here. You can see up under here that's been cobbled up together from the factory harness. Somebody's been cutting on it. All sorts of stuff has been ruined. I'm going to rip every single bit of it out and then restart from scratch. I've got our harness from QuickWire that I'll show you. So this is our 22 circuit harness from QuickWire. It's actually a pretty good quality looking piece here. It's already got speaker wire ran in it, and I've never seen one like that, where the speaker wire is actually ran in the group for the rear brake lights and all that stuff. And then we've got front speaker wire. I don't know why I think that's cool, but I just thought it was pretty neat. But you know, you've got your grouping, you have your headlight groups. I'll zoom in on there so you can see it. You've got your headlight group, you've got your tail light group, you've got engine group. Sorry, there you go, now you can see it. And you just got everything kind of grouped into where it needs to be, so it makes it a lot easier when you go to wire this thing up. So there's our motor group, we've got power windows. Oh, that's power door locks, that's crazy. So we've got a lot of extra stuff that we may not use. I don't think this thing's going to have power door locks, but if we need it, we've got it. So that's pretty cool and pretty compact. A little fuse box here, pretty easy to work with. I really like the way that it's built. Looks like a really good quality piece here. So I've got a lot of heat shrink connectors here that we'll use. They're in another box somewhere. I'll show you guys that later whenever we actually go to wiring. That's going to be next after the exhaust, like I mentioned. And whenever we go to the exhaust video, I'll kind of explain in detail what I've got. I've got a lot of cool parts that you guys are going to like. Another thing is we finished up the trunk. I told you guys about that. Put the deck lid back on. And have the taillights just sitting in there to keep the rain out from it in case the car has to sit outside. But it looks really good all put back together. We'll take a look at these seats one more time. And you see, what I want to do though, like I said, if I get the carpet, then it might look a little bit nicer on the inside. You know, we made some patch panels back here so that way there's no rust holes in the floor. I've told you guys before, I've got a complete floor panel for this thing. Just don't have the time to make it work right now, because it's not really a necessity. As long as we've got holes that are covered up, we'll be fine. So I've got this gauge panel. Picked this up, a guy that used to do a lot of General Lee conversions. He sold a lot of the stuff he had, and he pretty much sold every bit of the parts that he had remaining, and it includes a really nice back seat, the top and bottom parts. So that might go back in the car at some point. I've got to clean out the back here, so I've got a bunch of parts. But we want to do some creature comforts here. You know, we want to make sure that we can roll our windows down, try to get those power windows to work, get all the gauges. I've got nice gauges for it. I'll talk about when we wire the car. I want to pull out the center console, clean it up, maybe refurbish it, refurbish some of this stuff up here just to make it look a little bit nicer on the trip, and then so it's not so dingy looking on the inside. We'll fix a few things and make it look nicer. And the biggest thing really is to fix this, because that's not safe to be driving down the interstate. So we'll fix a lot of the stuff in here. I talked about on a live stream removing these right here, the top panel of the door. They're both cracked. I don't have a nice set of these, but I do have a nice set for the rear. You can see they're cracked along the top. I've got a nice set that I'll probably re-dye just to make them look nicer. But I might run it just bare metal because I think it looks pretty good with the original paint shining through. And then I might make some door panels. My armrests are okay. I probably could get a new one of this, but it'll be okay for the trip. So might just remove these, pop them off, make some new door panels because this one's obviously falling apart, or I'll just take it off completely and we'll go from there. It's a lot of fun. I don't know, we're getting really close and I really want to test drive the thing. Besides the exhaust, we need to do an alignment. We need to get the U-bolts settled in. I bought some new U-bolts because I didn't like the ones that I got. So the hood, don't know if we'll be running the stock hood or if we'll run a fiberglass hood with the hood scoop in it just for ventilation's sake. Talked to Luke from Thunderhead 289. Might run a return line system on this thing because my sending unit does have provisions for it. So I might run some kind of vapor separator that came on these cars for a 440 or a Hemi car. But I'll tell you what, the nicest thing is being able to come back here, pop this trunk, look in here, and you get to see all this nice new metal. So, and you can see I've got rust falling out of the package tray up here. I might have to cut that out and fix that, but the fuel system works. There were no leaks, and I drove it with the fuel system like it is. Fuel pump is putting out great pressure. I'm going to do something I should have done long ago and get rid of every bit of wiring under the hood of this car that I can that I don't need. And that's pretty much the only thing I need is a starter solenoid, hot wire to the coil, and that's it. This thing will run. So let's rip all this out. So here's a good portion of the old harness that I removed, and what I've done is I've rerouted some of this temporary harness that I've made. You guys saw me do this electronic ignition box paired with the electronic ignition distributor just to make it run. And what I had done previously was run our hot wire going to the ballast, and then that green wire was originally going to the battery, and then I would have to take a screwdriver and cross over the terminal on the starter solenoid. So what I've done instead is remove the bulkhead. You saw me do that, took all of that out, and ran 2 wires into the ignition switch on the inside of the car, and that way we can cross those out. And then I've run a power wire running our electric fans. I still don't have any way to charge the battery. I don't want to do that just yet, but the reason I'm doing this is so that way, 1, it's easier to move, and 2, it's not as dangerous to cross it over, and 3, I won't have to worry about whenever I get my exhaust done taking it to Sammy's, and I don't want him to have to worry about any kind of issues with starting it. So all we got to do is come in here. You can see I'm going to get a key cut. This is the ignition switch that came with the kit. I had to actually hollow out a washer to make it fit, so it was just slightly too small to fit inside this. But what I've done, I've taken a washer and just hollowed it out to where it would actually fit, and tightened it up with this lock ring, and now it'll start. On top of doing that, I rigged up the fan power switch to the accessory switch. So turn that on. Our fans will come on whenever I have the switch down here. I didn't drill any holes for that, just found one in the existing dash. So whenever I turn the key to the run position, the fans will come on. Very simple to do, and like I said, it came with the kit. I want to get a Chrysler key cut because you get the Pentastar, and that's what the factory came with. I want to get one of those. So it's a pretty simple wire job just to get it to where it's safe to move and safe to operate without having to cross wires over and make it dangerous. So it looks a little bit cleaner under the hood. There's not a lot of crazy wires that don't go to anywhere running all over the place. It does still need a lot of cleanup. I'll need to remove the old voltage regulator. That wipers motor, I don't think it works anymore, so I'll have to fix that. I'm going to make a plate to cover up the old bulkhead connector block and fix up some of these wires. I know that they're all just kind of routed everywhere, but that is just to make it run. No, it looks hideous right now. It's driving me crazy. But we'll fix that whenever we do our quick wire harness. We're going to do everything brand new, completely front to back, all brand new. So we'll make it look really nice, and then we'll clean it up, because it's all dusty and dirty. We'll make it all look pretty nice before we go on the trip. Pretty cool to actually be able to start this with a key. So now all we have to figure out is get our exhaust done this weekend, and then we'll start tearing down on the wiring. Alright, so the good news. Got a lot done today. We got a fuel system working, got our new fuel pump on there, we've got a nice pressure, and we got 3/8 lines, we've got a new gas tank, new sending unit, the trunk is done, everything is ready to go as far as that is concerned. We got the car starting with the key, the hood on, we got the trunk back on, so everything's gonna go okay as long as we stay on track. Next week and next video, we'll be having exhaust put on this thing. I think you guys are gonna like what I do. I have a really awesome plan for what's gonna happen. I'm going to Sammy's, and they do great work. They've always done all my work for my exhaust, so I think you guys will really enjoy what's gonna happen with this car. It's gonna be something totally new. I've never done it before, but I think you guys will really enjoy it, like I said. So anyway,
thanks for watching. I really appreciate what you guys do for me. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. If you have questions for me, feel free to leave a comment. You can send a question also to my email. It'll be at the very end of the video. Order your t-shirts and your stickers, guys. Also to that same email at the very end, send in your project to be featured at the very end of the video. After the exhaust, we'll really tackle the wiring and clean up everything and make it look a lot nicer. Then we have to get a front end alignment, change the windshield, maybe do some things with the interior. I'd like to do a couple small things that'll be pretty simple to do while the windshield's out and just make it look a little bit nicer for the trip. Maybe put a back seat in it. I want a radio. I like to have some music while I ride. And we should be pretty good. You know, U-bolts have to go in. That's one thing I gotta fix. I still have to fix that broken one. So we're making good progress. The only bad thing is that we only have a little bit over a month to get this thing running and driving. I did the math and it was just about 2,000 miles from my house doing the whole trip and then driving the whole way back from Ohio. So it's gonna be a pretty long one. I wanna make sure this car is dialed and ready. I want to at least have 2 weeks of driving the car to make sure that it's going to be okay, you know, work out any kind of bugs or kinks that I might have along the way. So I mean, it's not going to be that big of a deal. I just really need to get back in gear and get going. That's why we haven't had a lot of videos here recently, just because I've been trying to really hammer down and get this car ready to go. But anyways, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you in the next one.